Hello everyone, how are you feeling today? It's Eros everyone here, and today I'm coming at you with a very interesting video. And that is something that I haven't done in this channel before. I'm not sure how I'll do that in the future, but for today I'm going to do it like this, and this is going to be my ban list discussion. A few things first before we'll get to it. I know that there are not a whole lot of things to talk about this ban list and stuff like that, but I have few things I want to get off my chest because I just think about some particular cards and what I think the applications and stuff like that. I will going to talk about it, and we probably all know that I'm going to talk about this card a little bit more than you think, because there are a lot of things to talk about this card. Bad things and even maybe one or two good things that this card did before it got banned, and I think it should have got banned, but there is one or two things that, you should address that this card did well. And all that stuff. Let me a little bit open up the light because I think that's a little bit better. There we go. I think I didn't, created the set a little bit better, but, fix it up right now. Another thing is that because of the new ban list that hit 2 days ago, I think already, depending on which region you are. For me, it's 2 days ago. This particular ban list pretty much kind of threw in two videos that I have coming up, and also kind of delayed the idea of me having the update video, because I felt like the ban list is a little bit more of an important thing to me to talk about. Again, I always talking about the idea I want to do an update video, but unfortunately this thing just came in. I am going to film it, and I actually almost finished it, but unfortunately, this just came out so much importantly more, the ban list, and I want to talk about it. First and foremost, before we'll talk about the ban list itself, I want to say that at the start, I felt the ban list was a little bit too short, and 6 cards are not enough, and they should have also hit one of the cards that created a combo with a Gave Dragon, I believe, and Flare Metal and all that stuff, when you just start burning your opponent with this little fairy with the I don't remember that card name, but the little fairy when you do with Beatrice and all that stuff, and Flare Metal, just because it's activates its effect over and over again, and then Flare Metal just burn you for game. I think they should have hit this card as well as that, maybe release another card off the ban list, or just start working on something around to make the game a little bit balanced. But then I realized one thing. This ban list mostly feel to be kind of like a maintenance ban list. You know that when you're playing a game on your mobile phone or your computer and you have a new patch that coming right up, and you're doing a kind of a maintenance thing before they're patching thing the bigger things? That's what it feels to me, this ban list. It feels to me like this ban list specifically is fixing stuff before the new things that are going to come out in Savage Strike and stuff like that. So it feels to me, for the time being, this list is more than enough. I do think that maybe one or two cards could have been squeezed into there, or maybe starting things a little bit more for other archetypes to come off the list. But, overall, even though it's 6 cards, this list is really good. It's really perfect, and there's not a lot of things to say about it. In case of how much needed to be put on this list, I do think, like I said again, there are a few things more, but overall they did a really cool job in the ideas of only 6 cards, and this list is probably the best list we had in probably this year, I guess. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I feel that, at least for me as a player, I feel that's the best list we have the entire year. Now let's get talked about individual cards. First and foremost, Assault Core and Cosmo Dark Destroyer. Not much to say about those cards, except that I'm really happy for the players that actually play those decks. I'm not hating the cards or anything, there's nothing much to say about this, except that, they now can play at full power again, so, Cosmos are fun, ABCs are also kind of fun, and it's kind of nice that immediately, after the previous list, they realize their mistake and kind of bring back Assault Core immediately to 3. Not waited, 2 other list, or oh yeah, let's wait or put him to 2 before we put him to 3. No, immediately they kind of This card was not the problem. Let's bring it up to 3, which is kind of very, very interesting. They actually did really quickly. The last card that I think probably the most important one out of the 3 ops, like overall, not saying that Assault Core and Cosmo Dark Destroyer are not good or unique to their, or important to their own archetypes. I'm talking about like meta applications. Called by the Grave back to 3. This card is a card that should never got hit to 2 to begin with. I do understand the argument that people are saying like, no, it's because Goki could have used this card in order to start their things, and like it kind of was a hit on Goki, same as goes to MX Xavier Invoker and Goblin, which is, by the way, I don't think Goblin should go back right now or anything. We're going to talk about it when we get to Firewall, but and also MX Xavier Invoker. But this card is not a card that should have been get hit in the first place. This card is one of those cards that like make rogue decks possible. Kind of a thing that also make me as a player, because I don't like to play a lot of hand traps or play against a lot of hand traps. It makes me able to play around them. As well as in a way, it's also a really good card to just get rid of an opponent annoying monster effect in the grave as well. Just a really good card, a really nice card to come back up to 3. I think it should have been stayed at 3 last list, but you know, at least once again, they haven't like pushed it away to another list and say like, oh no, well, let's wait to see how that will work. No, they said, we realized our mistake. Konami at the very least said it kind of feels that way, that they realized their mistake and fixed that problem. And that's really cool. And I think this is probably one of the most important cards to came off the list if you're talking about like overall players. Again, not saying for Cosmo or ABC that your cards are not important. I'm just saying for overall players. The next card is Armageddon Knight. I think Malicious to 2 is also very important. I think Malicious is really important to also back to 2. I think this is a card that should never got off the list to 3 to begin with, because I think like the ideas that you can generate 2 cards out of 1 card, and then if you, back in the day, I also remember that there were people that were crazy enough to run Pot of Acquisitiveness. If they have another card banished, shuffle all the 2 malicious and another card they're banished back into the deck, then use the malicious effect again. And now you also have a Vision Hero Vions that can banish the 3rd malicious and give you a polymerization. Tell me this is not way too much powerful. I think for all people who like malicious, this is just way too powerful. This is a 1 card. I understand if you generate 1 card and then you can use the 2nd effect of Vion to banish and get a card. That's fine. Like getting 2 cards out of 2 cards kind of a thing, that's okay. But getting from 1 card 2 summons and then from the final one a 3rd summon, and then also have the ability to maybe if you run a particular tech card to then get even additional value, that is ridiculous. I think Malicious is where it needs to be right now, and nowhere else. I think Malicious is absolutely fine. And speaking of which, of cards that are absolutely ridiculous, in this particular case, at least this one, I think it's a collateral damage, because Armageddon Knight is very powerful in combo enabler, and it's a 1 card combo. That's why it should have gone to 1. I think specifically it should have get like, you know, maybe banned or also got hit Dark Refer, but I think putting them on check for the time being, it's actually okay. We'll see how that will roll from there for Dark Warriors and stuff. Because the problem with this card is it's 1 card combo. It's enable way too much things in way too much many decks. I know that it's also hurt Phantom Knights, Orcus, and even Darkest Diablos and stuff, but you can find a way to play around it, and I actually found a way to play around those things. I don't really have the cards, but like when I'm playing in YGO Pro for myself, I find a way to roll it around, and this card is really good, but it's not deserved to be a 3 because it enabled way too much stuff. You still have 2 copies of it if you count down Reinforcement of the Army, so it's still really okay. But this card enabled way too much problems, and even putting him to be a hard once per turn doesn't help. Like, with Firewall, of course it was crazy because you can summon it over and over and over again, but I'm talking about, like, even right now, like, even though it's not a hard once per turn, it doesn't, like, even if it was a hard once per turn, it doesn't help, because this card is one of those cards that because you have a huge pool of cards and you can do a lot of stuff with Dangers, with Dark Warriors, it's one of those cards that, like, yeah, because Link Summoning is a thing, unfortunately you need to go down to 1, if not even get banned, if we will see this card still being a problem. Because, like I said, because Link summoning is a little bit more, is an easier thing. It's not like an Xyz when you need to have 2 monsters the same level. No, you need, in Dark Warriors, 2 warriors. So what you do, you use this malicious Link summon into Involed, and then you start your combos. And that's the problem with Armageddon Knight. With Dark River, on the other hand, Dark River is also requiring you to send a monster from your hand to grave, which is an additional piece. As well as, like, if you want to special summon him, another card from your hand to grave. So it's kind of an interesting. Also require Dark Warriors to everybody, Dark monsters to everybody to know for the discarded fodder. But whatever, it's actually kind of a little bit more of a costing card. And for the time being, I think like Dark Refer is a little bit more of an okay card because it's still a 2 cards combo because you need to discard a card. It doesn't really matter. It could be any dark monster, but it's requiring you to have another card in your hand. And that's why, in my opinion, Armageddon Knight for the time being should go to 1. Until the end of Link era, and we'll see what's going to be the next mechanic. As well, just in general, I'm not 100% sure putting him down to 1 going to fix the problem immediately, but it's at least slowing them down, and we'll see where we're going to there. From there, sorry. And then, of course, the last one in the card that we all want to talk about is this card. Oh boy, there are a lot of things to talk about this card. Way too much things to talk about this card. So let's get started with the good things. Let's put the good things about this card out of the way. First and foremost, it's achieved its purpose quite well. I know it's toxic, I know it's bad, but it's achieved its purpose to promote the Link summoning. Until Flame of Destruction, we kind of needed that card like this, or even until Cybernetic Horizon. Let's go even deeper. We needed this card at least for the first year, in order to promote Link summoning, in order to give us stuff. Even though that Spiral format was terrible, it wasn't 100% this card's fault. I know that Spiral format was an absolute disaster for 2 weeks, but you also have to understand that, like, Double Helix and what is his name again? Quick Fix were also like really strong cards in what they do, and Firewall wasn't 100% responsible. So it's actually, I'm not blaming Firewall for that. I do blame him, but not really. It's like he's kind of blamed, but it's mostly where was an enabler there. Now, after that, we kind of like had a little bit of time in Extreme Force where it was like, you know, he was seen around, but not so much because we had the pendulums. And then in Flame of Destruction, it kind of came back to be a very broken card. And that's when it's like kind of like hit me that this card is like before we all know that Firewall was really broken, but like it's hit me that this card like 100% even at 1 need to go. Like until Flame of Destruction, I kind of like felt to myself like, no, it still have kind of an excuse to stay around. It's a good card. It's a good card to like promote the mechanic. It's a good card to like, you know, help players play kind of a thing. But after Flame of Destruction, when we got the Nightmares, it's kind of like felt like this card lost any excuse. Because Nightmares are very good Link monsters to themselves, and some of them are really cheap still. Cerberus and Phoenix are cheap Link monsters that everybody can put in their extra link and it costs absolutely nothing. As well as, like, you have Proxy Drain, you have other monsters to perform the extra link if you really care about it, and you have another monsters running around that can help you. The Attribute Link monsters also dropped all of them in Cybernetic Horizon, like the two last ones, so this card lost any excuse to stay around. But I would say this, like I said again, the good thing about this card is, like, he really promoted the mechanic that he needed to promote. But he needed to go, and that's one of the biggest thing, and I think he should have gone a very long time ago. Which is half a month or so, half a year, sorry, or so, when we got Cybernetic Horizon. I think I'm maybe getting over the top with, like, Cybernetic Horizon. I think it's something like, it doesn't really matter. The moment that we got Cybernetic Horizon, this card needed to go. But I would say this, okay? Firewall Dragon is a very broken card, and for actually the people that think that this card have a plot armor, I actually still think that this card have a plot armor, because in the OCG, this card's still running around with 1 goblin, which is weird, because this card is very broken, and they're letting him roaming around, because Firewall, I know that people will say like OCG and TCG are different, but this card is running around there. There he have a plot armor. I can get that because people don't really hate him that much there. They're like, okay, this is an ace monster. But here in the TCG, and what I actually thought to myself, like, that's really smart that they did this, is that in the TCG, people absolutely hate this card. There's so many memes, so many things that, like, Firewall need to go. Firewall need to go. Like, I haven't seen any card being hated that much. And I've seen Ash Blossom being hated at the start, and then people kind of, like, respect it to be a nice hand trap. But this card is one of those cards that, like, wow, there's so much hate. Like, Zodiac being hated, like, Zodiac deck, the deck called Zodiac, being hated so much when it was Zodiac format, but it's been hated as a deck. It wasn't being hated as a general card, and the difference between all of those is, like, Firewall Dragon is an enabler in single decks. It's like, it's allowing you to do crazy combos, but Zodiac, it's an individual deck. And for everybody new, thinking like, no, cause I still think there's some people like out there saying, no, Firewall Dragon should have been stayed, now it's going to be only control deck. Just search for Zodiacs through Draco and Dinosaur for like two and a half years ago, and you will understand why, in my opinion, Zodiac format was terrible, but the idea is like, they realized that like, really late that they need to fix the format. And in this particular case, they actually realized very, very early, actually, compared to there, that this card needs to go. But also, like I said again, Zodiac were an archetype that was by himself. Like, Zodiac were like an archetype that, like, you can put him as an engine, but they're not really breaking so many decks, except for True Draco. But Firewall is a card that you can put in almost every single combo deck and it'll just break it apart and make it absolutely ridiculous. And that's the biggest issue with this card, because it just made so many combos and so many things way too much infinite, and that's the reason why Assault Core got hit in the first place, because it just can continue, have a fodder with, again, Cannon Soldier, because Assault Core summon itself, then you get a Cannon Soldier, and then you have another Assault Core in the grave, and then you pop that one, you get another one to your hand, then special summon the other one with the effect of Firewall, and then you go over and over and over again. And that's a big issue. And that's a thing that I'm super happy that they fixed. And cards like this should not exist to begin with, but like I said, it's like, it's promoted the Link summoning to begin with, so I'm okay with this. And for everybody who like crying right now to say like, no, there are not going to be any combo decks, I think it's an okay thing that the game should slow down a little bit until we'll get Needle Fiber. Because I think that's also the other reason why this card got banned. Because it's either going to be this, or Summon Sorceress. And Summon Sorceress even never got printed yet in Europe. Or maybe it's already getting printed now, maybe it's going to be, whatever. Summon Sorceress just right now hitting Europe, okay? And Summon Sorceress is very, very important for Needle Fiber, and it's been hinted so much in OCG, not OCG, in OTS Pack 9, that it's going to come out in Savage Strike, because you have all the printed of what are called TGs, and also Jet Synchron get printed, and also a Mecha Phantom Beast token get printed, and it's also a Synchro set Savage Strike. So everything hints that we're finally going to get Needle Fiber. But the problem is that the game is going to become so broken that they will have to do an emergency ban list like this and either get rid of Firewall, or Summon Sorceress, or Needle Fiber, or all three of them. So they came to the conclusion that the idea is like, Needle Fiber is the one that they want to promote right now, and Firewall need to go. Firewall needed to go a very, very long time. Because of that, I also think like, Summon Sorceress is not going to get hit for a while. Not only because Firewall is gone, is because like, they want to promote, of course, Needle Fiber, but the idea is like, Summon Sorceress right now, you don't really have crazy things to do with it anymore. Like, not a whole lot of crazy things when you had Firewall, because you don't really have a good Link 4 to climb into, except from Nightmare Griffin and a Gave Dragon for the FTK or whatever that is. And yeah, it's actually a really good thing. I'm really happy about that. And Isolde also don't need to go, because the combo is a little bit less broken, and I've seen Goki's player having a lot more of a harder time to achieve the Gambler loop or just have a good board, which is really, really good. So, again, Firewall Dragon is a card that needed to go. But there is a reason why I think it should have been stayed at least Cybernetic Horizon. After that, this card just need to go. And it's a really good thing that Konami TCG actually thinks that like us. I think it's also the reason why this card is actually specifically made sure that players would leave the game. And I'm going to say that it's kind of sound weird, but I noticed a lot of people actually, like, at the start of the Link format, kind of like enjoying it, thinking it's kind of cool and stuff like that. But when all the combos with Gokis and stuff started, people, like, started to leave the game, or people just start to realize that, like, they're not having fun anymore. They don't want to sit, like, to 25 minutes and it become a dice roll, and we're just sitting to 25 minutes, waiting that our opponent will FTK us, and then, like, you know, finish the game and also lose the match, which is kind of not fun. And you heard that, I heard that from Paul from Team I don't remember their name. Not APK. I don't remember the name. I don't know why I don't remember the name on the top of my head, but Paul from APK, I believe that their name is. And also a friend of mine that is actually came back from the game for the game again, as well as like another friend of mine from YouTubing, which his name is Varek, and hopefully he's watching this right now. And yeah, people didn't have a lot of fun. People just didn't have fun from this format because it just, oh yeah, sit. It's also kind of was an FTK with Gokis because you cannot do anything against this card. I do think that Gumbler should also been hit on the list and be banned forever, but at least this is a step in the right direction. And I think Konami realized that this card specifically just ruined their entire business. And people just leaving the game and not coming back. And they're kind of like, okay, this doesn't worth it. And it's also kind of like stupid to just ban everything around it because people will find a way to make it this card broken again. So they decided, like, let's pull the plug, let's end this. I don't care if even it's a business or they're actually hearing the player for the time, fan base for the time being. It's at least something that they heard us. I don't care if it's even business thing. It just, at least they heard us this time. And for everybody that's complaining that this list is not enough, in my opinion, for the time being, it's the perfect list. And they did exactly what we needed to do. Now, another thing I would say before we'll end this video off is that Link summoning, I know that a lot of people actually hate this mechanic. Really do. Or just think this mechanic should not have been created the way it is. But the fact is that this game, before Link summoning in the Pendulum era, not even because of pendulums, was really fast. And they needed some kind of a mechanic to actually highlight in a new mechanics that people actually will care about. Because if you don't do something that restrict the game plan, is that people will not buy the new stuff because they have a very really good working deck that is Xyz, Synchro, Pendulum or stuff, and they will not care about the new summoning mechanic, and that was very, very apparent with Pendulum. There are a lot of people that hated Pendulum and didn't want to play them, but Links just force you to play them. I do think that Links is also kind of slowing down the game, and now because Firewall is gone, the game is going to slow down a little bit, like I said again, and become to more of a control variant, which I think will be healthier for a while. As well as, like, how should I say this? I kind of like Link summoning a little bit, and the idea of, like, it's also kind of help other decks. I think also the blame of Links to be so fast is not also the 100%. I think also you need to blame hand traps, but yeah, that's another topic of a video. But I think I like Links because the idea is, like, now that we have a lot of kinds of Link monsters, is like there's some decks that can actually come to rise because they have their own type. Because there's some decks that, like, don't have they have different levels, they have different they don't have the ability to do fusion or synchro, and they have no access to the extra deck and nothing that help them. But Link can actually help them. I know that it's actually slowing the game, I know it's not the best thing and the most optimal thing, or like also fasting the game and breaking the game in the other way, but at least we got this card out of the way. I know I'm like kind of start mumbling and talking about nothing and repeating myself, so I will end it here, but I would say Firewall is a card that was needed, reigned way too much for the time being, but at least they got him off the way after a year and a half. I think it should have been gone after a year it'd been promoted out, but at least year and a half, it's something. That it wasn't going to continue being played, and now degenerate loops are kind of more stopped. But now we're going into waifu format. Best waifu? Thunder Dragons. Anyway, now we're talking about this. It's actually kind of waifu format when you think about it, because you have Nightmares, which is old. You have kind of like Altergeist. You have what are called? Sky Strikers. It's kind of a waifu format when you think about it, except from Thunder Dragons. But you know, best waifu is Thunder Dragon. But anyway, like I said, I will leave you guys for that. I know I talked a little bit way too much. Maybe I hope you guys stayed with me up to now. But that's at least my thought about this Banlist. I think this Banlist is really, really good, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully, next video we'll be talking about finally the updates, and we'll have a little bit more videos, and I might actually going to do an order of cards again, because I will feel a little bit more safe to do stuff, because the game will be a little bit more fun right now. We'll see how the format will shape. But until next time, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. See you guys next time video. And remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, guys, and stay safe. And finally, this card is gone. Bye-bye.